when a little boy asked the president, "What does God mean to you?" No one was ready for the answer that left the room in tears. The room buzzed with a low murmur of voices as neighbors, families, and curious minds filled the modest community center in Lexington, Kentucky. It wasn't a grand venue, just a multi-purpose hall with plain white walls and a slightly faded wooden stage. Folding chairs were packed tightly, each row filled with people eager to catch a glimpse of the man they had only seen on TV or heard about through the news. A few kids fidgeted in their seats, and an elderly couple at the back whispered quietly, their hands intertwined. This wasn't the kind of event that drew cameras or journalists. It was raw, personal, and unfiltered, the kind where people came not for spectacle, but for answers. The president, now retired, sat on the stage with a relaxed demeanor, dressed in a navy blazer and an open-collared shirt. The weight of his years in office seemed lighter now, but the lines around his eyes hinted at the stories he carried. The evening had been routine so far. Questions about local issues, national policies, and the state of the economy had filled the first hour. His answers were thoughtful but careful, the kind of practiced responses that didn't stir much emotion. The audience clapped politely, but the energy in the room felt subdued, as if everyone were waiting for something more. Then it happened. From the middle of the crowd, a small hand shot up. At first, no one noticed. The president scanned the room, nodding toward a man who had begun to rise to ask his question. But before the man could speak, a voice interrupted, a soft, high-pitched voice that didn't belong to any of the adults in the room. "Excuse me, Mr. President." Heads turned, and the murmur of voices quieted instantly. Standing there, barely tall enough to reach the microphone, was a boy no older than 10. His round glasses slid down his nose as he clutched a small index card in one hand. His other hand nervously tugged at the hem of his sweater. The president smiled, motioning for the boy to step forward. "Go ahead, son," he said, his voice kind and inviting. The boy hesitated, his sneakers scuffing against the floor as he approached the microphone stand. His mother sat a few rows back, her hands clasped tightly together, her face a mixture of pride and apprehension. The boy took a deep breath, lifting the index card to his face before lowering it again. I have a question," he said, his voice trembling but audible. "What does God mean to you?" The air in the room shifted, conversation ceased, even the quiet hum of the fluorescent lights seemed to fade into silence. It was as if the question had caught everyone off guard, including the president. For a moment, he didn't answer. His expression softened, his gaze fixed on the boy, as if he were seeing something more than just a curious child. The room felt heavier, charged with an energy that no one had anticipated. And then he spoke. "That's a big question," he said, his voice steady but thoughtful. "But it's an important one. Let me tell you what God means to me." The audience leaned in, their collective breath almost audible as they waited for what would come next. What followed was a heartfelt, deeply personal answer that left not a single dry eye in the room. But this wasn't just a moment about faith. It was a moment about love, connection, and the courage to ask the questions that truly matter. What could a retired president possibly say about God that would leave an entire room in tears? The answer wasn't just profound. It was a reminder of the power of love and the strength we find in each other. Keep reading to discover the unforgettable moment that changed everyone in that room.